In the 1980s, R.C. Christian, the pseudonym of the man behind the mysterious Georgia Guidestones, not only called for the world's population to be reduced down to 500 million people, calling the majority of us a, quote, cancer on the earth, but he also promoted transhumanism, basically saying that man and machine should merge in our next evolutionary step into godhood. Just like the elite Illuminati today, particularly Google's chief engineer Ray Kurzweil, who believes that by the year 2045 that the elite will be uploading their brains into silicone-based systems and becoming immortal gods, and our bodies will be replaced by cyborg systems, allowing us to live forever as a god. And so what a lot of people don't know about the Georgia Guidestones is that in 1986, the man behind the project, or the front man of the group that paid for these things, which must have cost over $100,000, perhaps $250,000, to erect this 19-foot tall granite monument in the small little town of Elberton, Georgia, on a special geographically designed location with 8 different languages inscribed, one on each different face of the stones, with 10 commandments for the New World Order. The first of which being, reduce the population of the world down to 500 million. That's 500 million people. It's like about a 95% population reduction from what we have now. Other commandments talk about a world court, a world language. They're essentially the New World Order's commandments. And nobody knows for sure his identity. And the people that dealt with him at the bank destroyed all of the files and were sworn to secrecy and still have not revealed that. I think one of the men involved actually took the secret to his grave. But what a lot of people don't know is that this man published a book a couple years after the Guidestones were erected. Oh, by the way, on March 22nd, 1980, get it? March 22nd, 322, the magical Skull and Bones number. 322 in the Skull and Bones, Brotherhood of Death, Illuminati branch, represents Genesis chapter 3, verse 22, where Adam and Eve had eaten the fruit from the knowledge of, from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and become, God, opened their eyes and became as God. So it signifies their Luciferian belief. But what a lot of people don't know, 1986, he published a book explaining and detailing his philosophy. And also, a book that I have, by the way, I'm holding it right here in my hands. You can't get the book now unless you want to cough up over $400 was the last listing that I saw it for, a used one on Amazon.com. But I got a copy about 10 years ago. And I detail this in the Resistance Manifesto. But in the preface to this book, he says that thousands of copies were sent to political officials and shapers of public opinion throughout the world to promote his philosophy, including all members of Congress, and that he says that 100 copies were bound in leather and reserved for special folks. Yeah, just special folks get a leather copy. So what's interesting is, I'll read a couple quotes from this bizarre book, and I'll get into a couple more details about the Georgia Guidestones if you've never heard of them. Where he says on page 14, because he admits in the book that he represented a group that just wants to remain anonymous, just coughed up $100,000 or so to make the 10 Commandments of the New World Order, essentially, nuclear bomb proof practically. He says here, quote, "We suggest that scholars throughout the world begin now to establish new bases upon which later generations can develop a totally new universal language for men and machines. It will adapt to our speech mechanisms and to the language facilities and patterns impressed in our nervous system. Its spoken and printed forms will be capable of accurate interchange by electromagnetical means." He goes on to basically say that he wants to unite the world in one language. If you're familiar with the story from the Bible about the fall of the Tower of Babel, how at one point all human beings spoke the same language, and they tried to build the Tower of Babel to lead up to God, or some people believe was some sort of a transmitter, or possibly an antenna, or some sort of a calling sign to some fallen angels. And then God knocked it down, mixed up the languages, so that humans would have a little bit harder time to communicate with each other, because obviously when we get together we just do evil things. So he tried to stop that. But Mr. R.C. Christian, Mr. Rosicrucian, that's his little pseudonym, is a code word for the Rosicrucians, a sort of secret society, Enlightenment themed secret society dating back to the 1400s. And so he published his little book here. I'm going to read a couple other quotes from this interesting book here, where he says on page 6, "It's probable that humanity possesses even now the knowledge needed to establish limited but effective world governments. The knowledge must be propagated into the consciousness of all mankind. The hearts of our human family must be touched and warmed to welcome a global rule." Oh, that's interesting. Yes. Just a couple other quotes from this very mysterious book. Oh, yeah, by the way, here he says, on page 10, "Reproduction is no longer exclusively a personal matter. Society must voice and have some power and direction over the regulating of this vital function." Oh, you might remember, just the White House science czar, John Holdren, saying that we should, just put sterilants in the water supply and forcibly sterilize people. It's just exactly what the Georgia Guidestones say. I mean, the 10th commandment in the stones is calling humans a cancer on the earth. Is there anything else here? Maybe one more. And I'll show you some other pictures about the Georgia Guidestones. Well, anyway, the book is pretty much worthless. It's just a bunch of drivel of him promoting his globalist New World Order philosophy. And years ago, a couple years ago, back in 2009, I think, some people vandalized the Georgia Guidestones, spray painted death to the globalists. The Council on Foreign Relations is ran by the devil, and some other profanity that I shouldn't really show here. And it's interesting that Wired magazine did a story about it and then blamed me. Said that Mark denies any connection, but he clearly inspired it. It says, where is that? Let me find this here. Yeah, right down here. Look at this. "Well, Dice denies any involvement in the assault. He seems to have inspired it." Oh, I've inspired it because I think that they're just a demonic Illuminati-themed New World Order, blasphemous 10 Commandments. Yeah, just blame me for that, I guess. He used that simple term, "seemed to inspire it," so I can't sue him for defamation. Very clever there. But anyway, if you're not familiar with the Georgia Guidestones, very, very strange. There's also allegedly a time capsule buried underneath the Georgia Guidestones. So who knows what's in that time capsule. And you know what's particularly interesting is, remember the Satanists not long ago wanted to pull the 10 Commandments off of public property, or really just put a Baphomet satanic statue up themselves. Georgia Guidestones are actually on public property. And so the land was on a farm, and then somebody deeded the land to the city. And so this city is public property. We should have the Georgia Guidestones removed from public property. Probably something to be put on private property, don't you think? I mean, public taxpayer dollars is being used to maintain the land, to go and mow the grass, and to keep the trails trimmed. So pretty interesting there. So anyway, Robert Christian is not the guy's name. That's just his pseudonym. And like I said, when he created the stones and paid for them, admittingly that he was a front man of just a group, just a concerned organization. He used R.C. Christian, a pseudonym really signifying to the Rosicrucians. So if you want to get some more info on this, check out my book, The Resistance Manifesto. I guess I covered it in the New World Order Facts and Fiction as well, because as we know, part of the Illuminati plan is a massive population reduction at some point to try to preserve the planet's resources for the enlightened Illuminati elite, particularly if they plan on just living forever, just uploading their brains and becoming cybernetic organisms. And the remaining humans that are around that have to maintain the android systems and that have to do the work that the robotic workforce just can't do or just won't do, will be the ones that are enslaved with the mark of the beast. they'll be promised. I've talked about this in previous videos. This very well could be, most likely, the mark of the beast, where the Illuminati Masonic counterfeit Christ will offer people eternal life here on planet Earth. Just plug this little neural interface in your brain. Just come on down to your local, Google hospital and just let us put some chips in your brain and put some nanobots in your blood, and you'll just live forever, and we can live here on planet Earth under the rule of this Illuminati Masonic Messiah. He's offered us everything we've wanted. Oh, it's just so fun. Just plug that in. I'm sure nothing's going to go wrong. I mean, we trust these big companies with their personal information, our personal data, our web surfing history. What could possibly go wrong if you're just going to wire the internet just directly into your brain and just turn your mind, body, and soul right over to them? I just can't see anything that would happen. That would be possibly dangerous, disastrous. Just sign right up, slaves. So anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're new. Check out some of the previous videos. Check out the playlists. And stay tuned because there's more videos coming soon.